check this out. The realest thing I ever wrote. It's all happening. I remember the first time I interviewed someone I knew my mom had heard of. It was a big deal for me, and I couldn't wait to tell her. I worked in investment banking for 6 years, then left in 2009 to figure out how to make it writing about rap, to become the greatest rap writer of all time. At first, I considered journalism school as a way to transition away from finance. I applied to all the journalism schools in Chicago because Chicago is my favorite American city, but ended up deciding against it because I want to write about rap music. And I lived in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, you could throw a rock and hit a rapper. So why would I take on $30,000 worth of debt when I could just go outside? So that's what I did. My mom was actually excited about me making the choice to stay in BK. Now, I primarily grew up in the South, but she's from Coney Island and my dad's from Bed-Stuy, and we have so much family there. I think it comforted her knowing that if I was going to disrupt my life for what many accidental dream killers considered a pipe dream at that time, better to do it around people who loved me. I stayed in Brooklyn and plotted my plan of attack. My strategy was to hit up every independent showcase and open mic nights and random ciphers I heard about from simply being outside. I showed up everywhere strapped with a little device that attached to my iPod that turned iPods into recording devices. I'd pay to get into the club, sit in the back until the club closed, and take notes on the performers and analyze the artists, none of which my mom had ever heard of. Then I'd go home and blog about what I'd seen until the sun came up. I'd write 4,000-word treatises on the greatness of Homeboy Sandman, or Eternia, or YC the Cynic, who now goes by Kemba, or Niles, or whatever latest event Jossie was promoting. Few outside that particular scene ever read those posts on my first blog, the-quotable.blogspot.com. But that's how I first built my reps, reputation, and relationships. Now, December 2009 was a pivotal month in my career. I met two men 2 days apart who were the first to give me a shot. The first was Wes Jackson, who was the founder of Brooklyn Bodega. Brooklyn Bodega produced the largest hip hop festival in New York City at the time, the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. They had a new artist showcase called Show Improve that I regularly covered for my own blog, the-quotable. But during their December Show Improve, instead of covering the artist, I covered Wes Jackson. My plan was to interview Wes. He'd be so impressed by my knowledge of his organization that he'd offer me an opportunity to write for their blog, brooklynbodega.com. And it worked. Now, Brooklyn Bodega gave me my first editor-in-chief position ever, which was critical. But they also allowed me to host their radio show, Brooklyn Bodega Radio on pncradio.fm, as well as some of their different events, like their Show Improve series and their Salute the DJ series. I mean, these are critical, crucial reps I didn't know I needed at that time that I lean on every day. But 2 days after meeting Wes, I ended up meeting Jake Payne, the most important advocate I've ever had in my career. At that time, Jake was editor-in-chief of HipHopDX, who I really wanted to write for. And I knew he was going to be on a panel of judges for a talent search hosted by Vegas Records. It was a Saturday morning in December, and it was a legit blizzard outside. I trekked across 2 rivers and 3 trains from Brooklyn to Newark, New Jersey, walked 12 blocks in 8 inches of snow, paid $50 to cover a new artist showcase, sat through 13 hours of the most mediocre rappers America had to offer, just so I could get the chance to interview Jake. My plan was, after that interview, he'd be so impressed with my knowledge of their content strategy that he'd offer me an opportunity to write for DX, my all-time favorite hip-hop publication. And it worked. The next day, I got on the phone with my mom and told her how everything was all happening, and she said, "Oh, Justin, that's great, baby. Now, who are these organizations you're talking about?" That's one thing that's great about moms. Generally speaking, if you're happy, they are happy. My mom always was in my corner, regardless of how out of pocket I might have been. She would definitely tell me about myself on the side, but she was always had my back. It wasn't until 3 years later when I became editor-in-chief of HipHopDX and moved to Los Angeles that she could see how I was able to turn writing about rap music into a career in journalism. It wasn't until she saw me on Revolt Live talking about rap or heard me on Shade 45 on the All Out show with Rude Jude, on the radio, in the car. It wasn't until she saw me debate at Oxford Union or until she read my first Billboard cover story that she was able to appreciate the fruits of the labor that I would describe to her over the phone. Up until that point, if I was happy, she was happy, regardless of whether or not she knew what I was talking about. I grew up in a musical household. Neither of my parents were musicians, but they were music aficionados. My dad was a college radio host at Northeastern. My mom went to North Carolina A&T and was always the life of the turn-up, always throwing parties, always feeding me new music, new fashion when I was growing up. My dad was an engineer and my mom was a teacher, so he built stuff and she explained stuff, and in that sense, I'm 50-50 of both of them. I remember one day when I was 6 years old, living in Chesapeake, Virginia, my mom came into my room while I was sitting on the floor playing Contra on my Nintendo Entertainment System, the original one, 6-year-old TCM's favorite game. If you haven't played Contra, punch yourself in the face. My mom comes in the room and says, Justin, here's a tape you need to play while you play your game. It was Kool Moe Dee's How You Like Me Now, the album. The second track on that project was Wild Wild West. If you're ever in a fight and you're beating one of us, break out before you get bum rushed at the Wild Wild West. I used to love that joint. Now, did I know that that red Kangol underneath the front left tire of that Jeep on the album cover was supposed to be LL Cool J's hat? Nope, but my mom did. She's the first one to break their beef down to me. Now, did I know that the album was produced by Teddy Riley and would become a staple of the glorious New Jack Swing era? Nope, but my mom did. She was the first one to tell me about New Jack Swing too. Did I know what the word bum rush meant when I was 6 years old? No, but my mom broke it down. She explained it to me, and she was correct. The album was absolutely jamming. Played it all the time when I was playing Nintendo. Having parents who love new music was a boondoggle growing up in the 1990s, back when we used to have to do crazy things like go to the store and purchase physical copies of music. I mean, music was pricey back then, and $20 was a whole lot for a guess and check album, and you only made $109 every 2 weeks working weekends at McDonald's. But when your mom's buying new music every week, that takes the pressure off your bank account. She was big into neo soul, me, not so much. For me, it was Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, and everybody else. But she caught me with Jill Scott's 2000 album, Who Is Jill Scott? Every time I'd come home from Wofford College, that album would fill our family room. Are you listening to Jill Scott yet? She'd ask me. It's got Mos Def on it. One day I finally cracked. I put in the CD and was floored. The beauty in which Jill Scott conveys love and life and loss over lush, breathtaking production captivated me forever. I actually stole my mom's copy when I studied abroad in Amsterdam. That became a pivotal point in my life, and Jill Scott's Who Is Jill Scott became an indelible part of my personal soundtrack. So much so that I added it to the new thumbnails on this show. It's the first non-rap album to crack TBD thumbnails. There it is right there. My mom put me on. It's all happening. Now here's a day I'll never forget. It happened in February 1996. Me and my mom went music shopping together, and she was gonna let me get one CD, but I was gonna trick her, right? I had a whole plan. I was gonna trick her because the album that I wanted was a double disc. I wanted Tupac's gargantuan classic, All Eyes on Me. She ended up getting Fugees' The Score, which is the other album that I wanted anyway. Both albums came out the same day. This was my mom's second Fugees album. She also had 1994's Blunted on Reality. As far as rap albums, hip hop albums go, I'd say that one was her favorite because it's such a seamless blend of so many musical elements that spawned out of Black culture. She loved Lauryn Hill's enchanting vocals and Wyclef's Caribbean rhythms and Praz's unique baritone octave. She been loved Killing Me Softly since Roberta Flack's original and was always pumping Fuji La. When I was born, we lived in Newark, New Jersey. This was the early 80s when Brick City was also considered Chocolate City because it was 84% Black. I was born in Beth Israel Hospital, Beth Israel Hospital, and Newark was a hotbed of hip hop talent. Redman is from Newark, so is Queen Latifah, Elda Sensei, the Artifacts were from Brick City, Rod Digger, Lords of the Underground, and 2/3 of the Fugees. And Wyclef went to Vailsburg High School, right in our section. Now, I knew my mom knew all of this because my mom was always cool as a fan. She was always on the zeitgeist. That's why I was so excited to call her when I knew I was interviewing somebody that I knew she had heard of and was a fan of. It was April 2013. I was 2 months into my tenure as Editor-in-Chief of HipHopDX. I was in New York City for an interview. I called my mom and said, "Mom, guess who I am interviewing? She said, who? I said, Wyclef. She said, Wyclef? I said, yeah. She said, Wyclef from the Fugees? I said, yeah. She said, ask him if he knows who stole our stereo. My mom told me to ask Wyclef, ask him if he knows who stole our stereo. In 2013, now I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. My parents threw parties all the time. I guess at some point someone came in and stole our stereo system. But this is what my mom asked me to ask Wyclef when I called her excited because this was the first time I was gonna have a conversation with an artist that I knew she had heard of and was a fan of. That's my mom right there in one anecdote. Ask him if he knows who stole our stereo. It's hilarious, it's priceless, it's something I think about all the time as I've continued down this journey. My mother, Shanti Hunte, passed away this week. She'd been battling Alzheimer's for years. She was a beautiful, beautiful, undefeated light in this world. When you see me, you see her. She was so proud of me, and I am so proud that she was my mother. A lot of you have seen me along this journey over the years to write about rap music, to become the greatest rap writer of all time. You know, but would I've even had these dreams if it wasn't for the breadcrumbs that my mom had been leaving, the seeds she planted? I don't think so. But I don't have the answer to these questions. I love you, Mom.
Static Selector.
Saturday, another TBD. Thank you guys for rocking with me. I'm gonna keep this one brief. Obviously, this is a tough week for my family. I think you guys kind of knew something was going on if you've seen some of the videos over the past few weeks, but I just sincerely want to thank all of you, especially everyone who's donated to the Linktree and helped continue this mission each week. On the Wyclef tip, I'll put a link to the article if anybody's interested in reading it. He actually spends the first half. Actually, this is actually kind of cool. So my mom, that conversation with my mom kind of changed the angle that I wanted to go into that Wyclef conversation with. The bulk of it ends up being about Haiti. He was running for office or just finished running for office at that time. But the first half is really just about Vailsburg High School and hip hop culture from, you know, that Wyclef experience, some of his first battles in the lunchrooms back then. So, you know, that conversation with my mom turned into a pretty unique look at Wyclef. So I'll put that link in there if anybody wants to take a look at it. It's obviously a very tough week for me. I don't really know what else to say right now, but thank you guys for watching this. And you know, maybe if you guys have a unique relationship with your parents or an older sibling, cousin, or somebody who was instrumental in introducing you to so many different things that are important to you now, whether it's music, whether it's rap, maybe it's something else, share those thoughts, share those anecdotes in the comments section. If you've lost a loved one and someone who was important to you, maybe it's a great place to commiserate this week. My name is Justin Hunte. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything. And as always, it's all happy. The legend has retired.
Why are you recording?